Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about how you can improve your aim in a few simple steps. This guide is for beginners as well as experienced players, PC players, and console players. So stick around and hopefully I can help you improve your aim. The first tip we have is warming up. Just like any other sport, you want to make sure that you warm up before you start playing. The next few things will be for PC players only, so I have timestamps in the comments below. The first thing you want to have is the proper equipment, which means buying a decent mouse, which is around $40 to $60 US. I personally use the Corsair M65, and I think it works very well. The next thing is setting your DPI. DPI is your dots per second indicator. It's used to test your mouse's sensitivity, allowing you to adjust your mouse's cursor speed by adjusting how many pixels per second it moves. Most pro players play between a DPI of 400 to 1200. I personally play on 400. To determine what DPI you're going to be playing at, you'll need to see how much desk space that you have. If you have minimal desk space, then 800 DPI would be the perfect spot for you to play. A lower DPI allows you to make more accurate shots because you have more control of how fast your mouse moves. After you've established your DPI, it's time to get to practice. Depending on what game it is, I like to go into the firing range or whatever equivalent and test my sensitivity in game so that I can play the most effectively. I use prosettings.net and look for pro player sensitivities, and I try to replicate that and then tweak it to fit my own playstyle. Remember, after you select your sensitivity, to not constantly change it. Get a few hours under your belt, and if you can pinpoint an exact issue, then change your sensitivity. An example of an issue would be if you're overshooting, which means your sense could be too high, or vice versa. If you're shooting and not getting the target, your sense could be too low. If you are on PC, I recommend downloading an aim training tool such as Aim Labs or something equivalent. It helps with warm-ups so much. If you want to see which exercises I do on Aim Labs, leave a comment down below and I'll make a separate video on it. Unfortunately, if you're a console player, then you're limited to playing and warming up in-game. For Apex Legends and Valorant, I recommend using the fire range, and for Rainbow Six Siege, I'd recommend using their training grounds. Every other FPS should have something equivalent to these. Getting warmed up can be the difference between game-winning clutches and losing a game completely, so be sure to practice. The second tip is improving your game sense. There are many different things that happen in a first-person shooter, and it can be overwhelming to try to convert all the sounds and the visuals into something that is useful. To start improving game sense, you can use one character in the game and understand when to use their abilities and tools. When to use your abilities can come down to proper positioning. Note that proper positioning can oftentimes make up for poor accuracy. The difference between winning a gunfight can come down to a few things, such as map knowledge, positioning, recoil patterns, and knowing when to take a fight. When you can understand your surroundings better than your opponent, you'll be in a much better spot to win a gunfight. If you're able to, go back and watch some of your gameplay and see if you can dissect where you made a critical error and try to correct it for next time. The third tip I have is proper crosshair placement. I can't tell you the amount of times I've gone to a stream or YouTube video and noticed that their crosshairs were touching the ground. When your crosshairs are in the right spot, you'll need minimal adjustment to your aim. This ties into game sense, specifically map knowledge. When you can predict where your opponent is coming from, you'll be able to place your crosshairs right at head level and come out on top. For beginners, you should be trying to tap fire your gun until you can understand recoil patterns. More experienced players use a combination of proper crosshair placement and game sense to know how much damage a gun is doing and where the gun spray will go. The fourth tip is practice, practice, practice. The more time you spend in a game, the more game sense you're acquiring. You'll slowly learn everything I've discussed in this video and you'll become a much better player. Practice before your games while warming up, practice during your games by implementing the tips I provided, and practice after your games by analyzing your mistakes and making adjustments where needed. And lastly, worry about your own growth. Don't try to compare yourself to other players. You'll get where you need to be, you just need to be patient. Players have to put hundreds of hours before they can become decent at a game. Becoming good at something requires a lot of time and is a frustrating process, but just know that you're getting better even if you can't see it yet. Now, if you apply all of the tips I've told you, you'll be popping heads in no time. If this guide has helped you even just a little bit, please consider liking, subscribing, and turning on that notification bell. And I'll see you in the next one.